Hi, I'm Laura, and I am often asked the same questions that many other authors are asked, and I thought I'd do kind of an FAQ and let you know a little bit more about the process of writing, etc. So I got some of the ones that have been written down or people have asked me over the years. I'm just going to blaze through as many as I can. Where do you get your ideas? Well, I have 3 books there. The ideas for them were generated for a variety of reasons. The first one was because I'd gone to a place called Casadega. It's sort of in north central Florida, and it's a community of spiritualists, mediums, psychics. Really an interesting place. Really old kind of Florida clapboard houses and lush trees, a little eerie in a sense. And when I left there, I had this notion that there could, both the community as a setting and this idea of doing some kind of a story based on a police officer who has come to live in that community and solve crimes in a sleepy place where she simply doesn't think anything will happen. The third one, called Deadly Associations, that was an image. At the time, my husband and I were fooling around and trying to do fish aquariums, tanks, so forth. Not so easy as it looks. And I flashed on an image of when the water is kind of murky. And that was the basis. I had no idea. I could just see something happening. In this case, a hostage situation. But that's where it began. Just a thought. I had no idea where the story would take me. So here's another question I get a lot. Are your books cozies or hard-boiled? Well, they're definitely not cozies. They're known in the parlance as police procedurals. And that means you've got your basic cop, you've got your standard procedures that police go through. You've watched enough of this on TV to have an idea or a sense of it. And so they're not cozies, but neither are they real tough, hard-boiled. That doesn't mean there's no tough scenes or sort of kind of violence, but nothing terribly graphic, just the kind of stuff that would occur in the context of the story and build some character and add tension. And that's what I like, is for tension to move one chapter to the next. Is your character Claudia Hershey a lot like you? No, not at all. First of all, she's considerably taller than I am. She's probably brighter than I am. She plays an oboe. I play absolutely no instruments. I can't carry a tune. So, no, we're not. She is not a composite of anybody I know. She is just someone who fell into my brain sort of the same way that ideas do. And I developed her, and I liked her, and it was never intended for her to be a character in an entire series, but that's what reviewers were saying I should do. This could be a series character, etc., and that's how come I did 3 books. So, do you use an outline when you write your books? I did on the first, because it seemed the right thing to do. After that, no. I'd start with this image, whether it was a fish tank or anything else, and I never knew what was going to happen throughout the book. I never knew what was coming next to myself until I made it happen. Very intense kind of experience. Were your books self-published? No. They originally were produced as both trade paperbacks, that's the slightly larger sized paperback, and as hardcovers, and they were put out by a company called Over Mountain Press in Tennessee, small publisher. But they did get some good reviews in Publishers Weekly and newspapers, a variety of places, and I was encouraged to continue doing more Claudia Hershey books. So the next question becomes, of course, so how did you get them turned into ebooks? Well, the rights were restored back to me after they went out of print. And there's a whole audience out there who you can't just reach through conventional means. But then came the opportunity to do ebooks, because that's where it was going. And I'm doing those through the Fiction Works. It's a terrific little company again, and Ray Hoy, the publisher there, he was so ahead of his time with ebooks. I knew if I could convert these myself to ebooks, there are ways. Amazon will tell you how to do it for the Kindle, etc., etc. But I knew I would probably actually never get around to it. So I went that route, and I am so happy I did. And finally, which is your favorite book in the series? I don't know. The first in a sense because it was my first. Not the first that I ever wrote, the first to get published. The second, I really like Quietly Dead. I can't tell you why, but there's something about it that hooked me, and I love the characters. I introduced someone who everybody seems to love too, named Bowie, and I never intended him to continue into the next book, Deadly Associations, but he did. And I like Deadly Associations because at one point I lived in a gated community, didn't much like it, and I could see things happening. So I hope that's answered at least a few of your questions. If need be, I'll do another one. Drop me a line. Maybe you'll know a little bit more about the series now. I hope you read it. I think you'll enjoy it. And we'll talk later. Thanks for listening.